Welcome back and let's continue with the series of Python by WsCubeTech. I am Nehal and in this video we're going to be talking about constructors and methods in Python. So let's get started. So now basically what is constructor? So constructor is nothing but it is a special member function and in Python, we make use of this init method. So it starts with that init method underscore underscore init underscore underscore method. So this is nothing but this is a constructor. And in the previous tutorial, we have used this init method. So in that thing, what it was doing that it was just we were initializing our variables into that, or we can even assign the values to our variables. So we'll just see this thing with the help of an example so that you will get a clear idea about what I'm talking. So say for example, now as we have seen in the previous tutorial, so we know how we can create a class in Python. So we'll simply create a class. So say I'm going to create an employee colon, and inside this we made use of that init method. So we are just going to define that method. So what I'm going to say, I'm just going to define that thing. And here as you can see that self is gets it is automatically the first parameter that comes when you just type on this init method. So this is basically nothing but it is the you can just call it as a variable, and I will just let you know why I'm calling it as a variable. It is not a keyword, okay? So we can just call it as a variable, and uh, by calling this self, it just points to the current object of your class. So that's the thing about this self, and I will just let you know why I called it a variable in just a time. So just what I'm doing over here is that I just want to give you an idea of the uh, constructor over here. So I'm just going to print a simple statement over here so that you come to know like what is happening over here. So if just simply say that welcome to WsCubeTech. So what I have done over here is that I've simply uh, uh, created a class over here, and I have defined a method that is init, and we know it clearly that what this init method does. It is just for initializing of variables. But here I'm not just declaring any variable and all. I'm simply printing a statement, and now I'm just getting out of my class body, and I just want to create object of my class. So we know how to create object, that is just object name is equal to, and we're gonna say employee, that is our class name, and this parenthesis. And if I just run over here, you will just see this statement that is welcome to WsCubeTech. Now the point over here is that this is nothing but the constructor over here. As I said, that constructor is nothing but this init method that we use in Python. Now, what is happening over here is that as soon as you create a object of your class, this gets automatically called. All right. So you can see over here, like in the previous tutorial, like in order to access a particular variable or method, we were making use of the object that is even dot so and so. But in this case, like we don't have to call this init method; it gets automatically called. So one of the property you can say that about the constructor is that as soon as you have just defined this constructor over here, this init method, and as soon as you just create the object of your class, and it gets called automatically. There is no need of you to call it with the help of the objects or the instances. Now the second question arises over here is like, suppose we have, now we know that a class can have a multiple objects. Now the question arises like, if I have multiple objects over here, so will that how many times this constructor will be called over here? So why not we understand this thing practically? So what simply going to do, I'm just going to create another object over here, and this time I say e2, and just the employee, the name of my class. And if I just run over here, you're seeing we are getting it is getting printed twice. So this gives you the answer. So the constructor is like it will call as many as number of times the objects are created. So if you create the another objects once again over here, so again this will be called. So as many as the objects you have in your class, so that many times this constructor will be called. So this is the answer of this second question. Now this was about just about the constructor over here. Let's move ahead, that is methods. So what I'm simply going to do is, like, now our class can have variables as well as methods, so I will just define it over here. So I will just say that the same example we are taking here. So if I have this name and id over here, fine. So I have this name and id as my this variables over here. And now I will just remove this line, and instead of this, and now what I'm going to do, so I've just declared the variables over here. Now I want to just initialize my variables. So we do this with the help of the self variable name over here. So I'm just going to say self name is equal to name, and similarly I will go for self dot id is equal to id. And the thing is over here is that this is our first parameter, and you can just give the answer to the first question, that as I said, that why I'm saying this is as a variable, because you can change this. Yes, you can change this. It's not compulsory that you just make use of this self word, but it is for sure compulsory that you need to pass first parameter over here. So I can just change this thing. I can just say this to this, and if I making use of this, so I have to simply change that everywhere else in my code, and I'm doing the same thing over here. So this is the reason why I called it a variable, and we know that variable is nothing but the values, it can be changed of that particular thing. And this is a I called this as a variable. So this it only points to the current object of your class, and this both are my second parameters over here. So you can see this is name and id, and this is I have declared, and this is how I'm going to initialize them. And now what I'm going to do is, like, uh, I will create another method over here, and I will see simply welcome. And inside this, as you can see, like this self, as I said, whenever you are working inside a class, so the first parameter will always be your uh, this self. And as you can see, this it automatically gives it over here, but now as for now we are making use of this, so I will have to simply change this thing. Now the thing over here is that you, as I said, that it's a variable, you can use any of the variable name as you like. But the thing is, like, uh, as it follows some naming convention over here, so it's better to use this self word, because if some another programmer comes up and it sees through your code, so it won't he won't get that clarity, like what is this thing, like if now this is written over here, so might be the another one who comes over here, he might not understand this thing, like what is this used for. So it's better to you go with the uh, the thing that is uh, made clear, like go with the self and all, in order to maintain the consistency and all. So but as for now, we are going to check this out. So I have simply changed the name of my variable over here, this. And here basically what I want to do is I want to greet my employee, and will even say that his id is so and so. So why not just print the statement. So I will just say hello, in a double quotes, hello, and we'll just say plus self dot name, and plus your id is plus self dot id. So this is how you can just print your statement into a single line by using this concatenation. And as I said you once again, that the self, it points to the current object, and whenever you are working inside your class and you want to some access a particular variable or method inside your another method, so we make use of this self. But as for now we are using this, so we'll just change this as to this, and here also this. And yeah, so we'll just I'm just have declared this another method over here, and it says welcome, and this is going to do this thing. And I will just remove this second object as for now. And what I want to do is, like, why not just run it over here. So you're saying that it is giving you an error. So it says that yes, of course, we have not passed arguments over here, not the parameter, the arguments over here. So the thing is about here, like this is when I said that as soon as you create the object of your class, so this first thing this will be called out, that is init. And now in this case, we are passing these two parameters over here. So it is simply necessary that while you're declaring you're just the object of your class, so you simply pass the values over here, and that's the why you're getting this error. So the point I wanted to show you over here by running this code is that as soon as you create your object, this thing will be called first thing. So I will just pass the values as, say, I will have like Pratik, and I will just pass the ID as, say, 5678. So this is the ID, and I'm not calling the function and all, so we'll go step by step. So yes, now it doesn't gives you anything, that means it's working fine. So this was about the constructor over here. So this gets called as soon as you create the object of your class. And now basically what I'm going to do is I'm simply gonna uh, call up my welcome method. So is for doing that thing, you need to use the object, and I will just say welcome, e1 dot welcome. And if I just run it over here, so you're getting an error. So it says that it's a type error, can only concatenate string and not int. So if you remember in a the old previous videos, we were talking about that type conversion and all. So here it is giving the error over here because it can't concatenate this number with this string over here. So it's saying that can only concatenate string, not int to string. Now this is a int, so why not just convert this thing into string, so that we can just get rid of this error. So we'll simply say str over here, and as I just do it, you are getting the result, that is hello Pratik, your ID is so and so. So this was about the methods, how you can use methods over here. And you can see over here I have made use of this variable instead of self, but from next time onwards we would be using the same, that is the self, in order to achieve the code readability and all, so that the another developer, when it comes, so it would be clear for him that yes, the self is nothing but it points to the first object of your class, and that this is a variable and all. So this was all about this. So we'll just do a quick recap over here. So what we basically studied is we studied about the constructor. So constructor is nothing but this init method that you define in your class over here. So this init method is just to initialize your variables or to assign the values to your variables over here. And inside this, a self is first argument that you need to compulsorily pass. And we have seen that it is a variable and you can just change the name as per your need, but we'll just go with the convention, and all we'll follow those naming convention and we'll go with self. And this self is nothing but it points to your current object of your class. And in order to access the variables or the methods inside your class in another method, you need to simply write the use it with the use the self variable along with your variable name. And this is how you have declared your variables over here. And we even defined our method over here, that welcome. And here we are simply printing our statement. And the thing is, as soon as you create the object of your class, and this init method will get called over here. And as I said, like in the first case there were no arguments over here, so it was just accepting. But in the second case, when I just passed the argument, so it was giving me the errors, that it says that arguments required, two arguments required. So as soon as you just create the object, so this thing will be called, and you can just and in order to call this thing, as I said, this thing automatically gets called. There is no need to now as you can see that for welcome we are making use of this object name, and then we are passing we need to call this by this method name. But that is not the case with this init method, right? It is getting automatically called. And this init method will be called as many as number of times the objects are created. Now say for example, if I create another object over here, so suppose I just copy this thing and I will just create another object, and this time I will just change this name of my object. And why not just change the values over here? So suppose I say Rahul, and just let's change this value as well. And if I just do this thing, so you can see that we are getting these two things. So this thing will be called as many as number of times your objects are created of your class. So this was all about the constructors and methods over years. I hope you're clear with this thing. And yes, thanks for watching.